Yeah. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the theory. So it was originally designed as kind of a challenge to what psychologists had previously thought about a human's intellect, because most of the IQ tests that we had been doing before were based off of just linguistic or logical, mathematical types of learning. And Gardner thought that by doing that, we're kind of leaving out a lot of alternate methods that you can go through in order to get the answer to something or come up with a theory. So what he did was come up with these 8 types of intelligence that are kind of different than just what we had been testing with before in schools. So I'm going to tell you about the 8 types of intelligence and the new one that's kind of the 9th, but it's not official yet. So first is linguistic, and this is called word smart. This is reading, writing, speaking, and conversing with language to kind of convey your thoughts. And so in the classroom, that is done through word building games and storytelling for reading, journal writing for writing, and group discussions, listening to lectures, and also things like just class presentations for speech, because these students tend to be really strong in those areas. The next is logical mathematical. And these kids can use numbers and computing skills, recognizing patterns and relationships, order, and problem solving using logic. So in the classroom, that is done through logic puzzles, problem solving activities, computer games, ordering, and matching. So these kids tend to be really strong in subjects that have to do with math and patterns and all that. The next is musical, which is also called sound smart. These kids can really recognize like tone and pitch and rhythm, and that kind of helps them when you're doing things musically in the classroom, like songs and chants. And I actually have 2 examples of kind of things that can be used in education with music. So the first one, I don't know if any of you know Schoolhouse Rock, but they have tons of lessons with a variety of subjects, like it can be anything from math to science, and all of the lessons are set to music. So I'm just going to play you a little example. This is subjects and predicates.
He is the subject of our tale, and the predicate tells what Mr. Morton must do. Mr. Morton walked down the street. Mr. Morton walked. Mr. Morton talked to his cat. Mr. Morton talked. Hello, cat. Hello, cat. Mr. Morton was lonely. Mr. Morton was. Mr. Morton is the subject of the sentence, and what the predicate says he does.
And then the next one, even though you don't really associate music and math for kids who are musically intelligent, like setting numbers to music can really help, and this is just an example of that from Sesame Street.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
So you get the gist. You can see how a kid who thinks in terms of tone and rhythm and all that would really be helped by stuff like that in the classroom. Alright, so the next type of intelligence is bodily kinesthetic, and these kids are movement smart. So basically what helps people like this learn is just moving around as much as you can and kind of like associating movements with like a word that you're trying to learn or something along those lines. And so in the classroom, they really do well with craft work, acting things out, like if you say you have a history lesson, like actually acting out a famous event in history. Cooperative games, and just in general hands-on learning. And then I found this clip of a class who used body movements to help them learn some of the things in math that they were working on throughout the year. Yeah, so you see that really helps them kind of learn the basic definitions of some of the concepts in math. So, next. All right. Then we have spatial intelligence, which is picture smart. These people kind of look at the world around them and they perceive it very visually. So they can create and manipulate the images that they see in their head and kind of translate that into learning. They also have a strong understanding of the orientation of the body in space, so they tend to be really good with like having a good sense of direction and kind of being able to figure out where you are with like just a map. And in the classroom, this looks like identifying patterns, puzzles, charts, graphs, and diagrams, artwork, and interpreting directions. And I just have two examples of things that are kind of geared towards spatial learners. So here, obviously kids were learning about patterns and they used different colored Fruit Loops to make their own patterns. And it's kind of very visual and hands-on. And then I have an example of a chart that was used in, I guess, in English class that kind of, to learn the differences between these two things, they have it kind of laid out in black and white, which helps these kids. Next is the naturalist learner. So these kids are nature smart. What they do is observe, understand, and organize elements that are found in the natural environment. And it's a little hard to understand how this would really translate into different subjects because it's so focused on nature. But some things that you would find in the classroom would be classifying and categorizing activities, outdoor activities, hands-on learning, and also conducting experiments. So two of the subjects that these kids would really thrive with would be biology and botany, things that have to do with plants and outdoor things. The next two intelligences are interpersonal and intrapersonal. I put them on the same slide because they're similar in the sense that they have to do with like a kid's social behavior. So interpersonal is people smart. They kind of have a good understanding of how to communicate with others and work with them collaboratively in a group. In the classroom, they do really well with group work, board games, things like problem solving with a group, and team projects. And these kids also tend to be more extroverted, which makes sense because they can communicate so effectively. The next is intrapersonal, which is also called self-smart. These kids understand their own emotions and thoughts, and that really helps them be able to analyze their thoughts really well and express themselves very thoroughly. In the classroom, this looks like independent projects, journal writing, and reflections, things that are more geared towards individual work. And likewise, these kids are more introverted than extroverted just because they understand themselves more than they understand the whole group. And then this is the 9th intelligence that's still kind of on its way to becoming official. It's spiritual existential intelligence, which is philosophy smart. I kind of had a hard time getting a definition of what this is, but it's basically like the ability to think about big ideas and pose questions about ultimate issues. So it's kind of like you would think of all like the ancient philosophers, and that's the type of intelligence it's talking about here. So